Welcome aboard the BK Escape Pod. That's right, it's the augmented and bionic podcast version of the live show. You can hear us Saturdays from 10 a.m. till 12 p.m. Eastern on 100.3 FM and AM 1450 WBHF Radio. You can stream the show live there Saturdays at WBHFradio.org or on the free Tunein app. Look out, here we go. Stand by for launch.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
The Force will be with you, always.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Oh, something feels different about today. I don't know what it... How would you know? Oh, wait, I know how you know. Seeing is believing, right?
I am. Well, I want to touch you, but then that might be weird.
Well, you should have waited till we're off the air. Do that. Just wait till the next break. I'm not going anywhere. Hey, good morning. It's BK on the air.
I want to see if I push that. Did you go?
Are you saying that I'm the Pillsbury Doughboy? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying.
Well, you're right. I look like him. I did when I was 12 years old, man. I had when I was 12 years old. Let's just say this: I needed a bra.
Oh,
because I was.
I didn't know you were going there.
Puberty, overweight. I was just. It was a bad. It was.
Nothing.
I think I've. Hey, we got people
fans
looking in the studio window while we're on
wait a minute.
That's awesome.
There are now two
That's
in
right.
there.
And he's holding up one finger. That means we're number one, right?
Yes.
Which finger was it, though?
We are the best.
You're the best.
Well, he's looking at you, so you're the best.
Well, okay. Did you ever do that in school? You hold up the three fingers and go, read between the lines.
Yeah. Well, we did it sideways because we thought we were being really clever.
Sorry. We did it the other way and got in trouble for it.
Don't understand? Well, let me peel the banana.
Yes, I'm live back in the studio. I spent a few weeks, I don't know how many, at home broadcasting due to the COVID-19 lockdown, which was I appreciate that because the station obviously values me a whole lot more than other people. They want to keep me safe at home.
Your last Saturday was the Saturday the 14th of March.
Saturday the 14th. That was a movie with Richard Benjamin.
Because we were still doing the pub crawl. We hadn't had the lockdown order from the governor.
It hadn't hit really big
and
yet.
It was that Tuesday following. It was like, that's it. We're done.
Oh, yeah.
Or Thursday, whatever it was. It was before, because they said, because we're doing this on a Thursday, if you want to still send your kid to school Friday, you can. Otherwise, we're done. That's it.
Keep BK at home because we got to protect him and not let him get sick.
You're out of here.
Like, okay, well, that's what I'll do then. All right. So, yeah, it feels good to be back.
That feels like
really
so
good.
long ago, even though it's only been 3 months now.
This thing feels like it's been going on since 1985. For me, it really does. I don't know why. Because so many things have changed. So many people that I know have lost their jobs. So many people, friends of mine, have been laid off but now are back to their jobs. Some people never got their jobs back.
Yeah.
Some people changed jobs and are now doing something completely different.
And the problem is we're hearing stories, which I hope ends up being more of the doom and gloom and not the reality of even though restaurants are reopening, there was a study that said they may have lost so much revenue, they may not be able to, even if they're open now.
I know some of them have. They have, and I've seen several of them that have filed for bankruptcy. Some of them had filed for other reasons. Now, I noticed, we'll get local here for a second. For a long time, I worked for a big major mall down south of us in Kennesaw called Town Center. You've been to Town Center Mall. It's just another one of those huge malls. And I went by there yesterday because I needed something for my watch, and we needed to get some things that only some stores in there had. And they were open, but they're set for a big opening. They were set for a big opening. I'm sorry, we went Thursday. No, it was yesterday, yeah. A lot of the stores were open yesterday because everybody wanted to open back up on Friday. Well, I noticed that Sears had a big sign saying going out of business, store closing. So that whole anchor store of Sears is going out. And I think Sears is in trouble and going out anyway.
That's the thing. If you were already kind of on life support, this did not help.
This was that you're in the water and the boat had capsized. This was you're just barely treading water because the boat has sank and you have no life jacket. And you're a pretty good swimmer, but you're tired. This happening was that wave. Like in Castaway with Tom Hanks, where that wave will just hit you. And we're like, okay, well, that's it. I'm done now. I can't stay afloat.
You look off to the
this.
horizon. Why can't I see stars? And you realize it's because it's a wall of water.
Must be cloudy. Yeah, so I feel real bad about that. But a lot going on. I'm glad that I'm back. Broadcasting at home was interesting because you and I talking on remotely is kind of hard to gauge each other's facial reaction because people don't know that. When we're on the air here kind of yakking and having fun, we look at each other's faces and we make faces at each other because it's an indication of how we feel about something. It's kind of fun to kind of gauge the other person and see how they why is Alan Alan has a little grin on his face. It was gas. Sorry.
Might I go to the bathroom?
And I don't. May I go wee now? Sure. Wee!
Why does he have a patch over it? Why does he have a cork on his
And I don't know with you that it's gas until about 15 seconds later. For some reason.
It depends. Is it a slow roller? Or?
If the air conditioner vent is on, it pushes everything this way or not. So this is what you miss. This is what you got back on the air here on WBHF. I got a lot to talk about today. When I'm back, I got a lot to talk about today. Anytime I'm on. Did you know? Does the name? And I'll talk about this coming up after the break. We'll have Pat McCormick today, and I think. What is he talking about today? I totally forgot. I think it's Dragnet.
I'm going to say something about the golden age of television.
Right. We'll just be safe and say that. And he corrected me, by the way. I said that a few times before he changed the name.
Right.
After he changed the name. He goes, Barry, it's golden age of TV now. Don't say television. And he
shorter.
took me to task with that.
What's funny is we've got an interview with him coming up on our Listeners Lounge episode.
That's right.
It's going to be released Tuesday.
Yeah.
And I said, let's get now to where you are with the golden age of television. He goes, well, I know BK has called it that, but really it's, and I'm not joking. He mentions you in our interview saying it's actually shortened to just golden age of TV.
Right. And he did that for me because it's hard for me to say long words. And I appreciated him doing that. Just for me.
Telemundo.
Hamburger. See, look at you. This is what you've missed right here. This is what we've missed. Coming up today, does the name Walter Hill ring a bell to you? Is it Walter Hill?
Well, Walter Hill's a producer of a lot of 80s movies.
Yeah. Well, I've got a story about him and an Alien script that includes Ripley coming up on the show today. I'm like, okay, I didn't know about that. That's going to be interesting. And we talked on the Wilder Ride when we did on y'all's website, the Wilder Ride. We talk about Gene Wilder movies. We did Young Frankenstein, and we always talked about Young Frankenstein kind of being part of the Frankenstein cinematic universe because I always kind of thought it fit. I mean, it made sense. There's a Bride of Frankenstein reboot banding about right now, official from Universal. We'll talk about that. They've discovered another radio burst in deep space that's huge, I think, that's hit us. We'll talk a little bit about that, too.
We know where Paul Harvey went then.
That's right. Here I come. I'm about to hit the earth right now with 200 megahertz.
I found a different radio station in the great beyond.
That's right. On my Bose acoustic wave radio. There's a new freezer pops.
Bong.
There's a freezer. I got to play that on the air, by the way.
It's been a long time.
Freezer pops. There's some new freezer pops coming. And I always didn't you love freezer pops when you were a kid? The ice pops that were in the freezer that you could just.
Were they in the little plastic?
Yeah. They come as liquid form. You put them in the freezer to freeze.
Yes.
There's some of those coming out. We'll talk about Six Flags.
I need some that are margarita flavored.
And there was a they have those. It's in the article. There's some that are wine flavored.
Oh, good.
You might like those.
I'm suddenly interested.
One of the most memorable marketing blunders had an anniversary back in April that I missed because of going through the whole COVID lockdown thing. But I want to talk about that today. It was one of the biggest marketing blunders of one of the biggest companies in the world, and it happened in 1985. That's visiting the past. We'll talk about that.
Was that the new Coke?
Yeah, thanks for ruining it. That's okay. We'll still talk about it.
Was it really?
Yeah, it's New Coke.
No,
you're exactly right.
I just was making that up.
Sometimes we both talk too much, which is my goal today. And we'll flash the audience in the Golden Age of TV when we return.
How many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? The world may never know.
You listen to me, cop. I pay you a salary.
All right, sit down. I'm going to earn it.
You already have the kind of money you make. What do they pay you to carry that badge around? 40 cents an hour?
You sit down. That badge pays $464 a month. That's what the job's worth. I knew that when I hired on. $67.40 comes out for withholding. I give $27.84 for pension and $12 for widows and orphans. That leaves me $356.76. That badge is worth $1.82 an hour. So, mister, you just settle back in that chair because I'm going to blow about $20 of it right now.
You are acting so weird and immature.
Hey, we're back at BK on the Air. Let's go over and listen to Pat McCormick with the Golden Rage of TV.
Greetings, fellow classic TV fans. The multi-talented Jack Webb left us a lasting legacy of classic television, beginning with his creation of Dragnet. The franchise first aired on NBC Radio in 1949. In 1951, it became the very first series to be on both radio and television simultaneously. That same year, Jack created his Mark 7 Limited production company. Then, with the feature film in 1954, Dragnet had crossed over into a third medium, clearly headed for iconic status with Webb as the lead actor and director. The initial TV series, with 8 seasons and 256 episodes under its belt, co-starred Ben Alexander as Joe Friday's partner, Officer Frank Smith. It also featured some of the earliest television appearances of Carolyn Jones, Raymond Burr, Lee Marvin, and Martin Milner. Its run ended in 1959, but Dragnet was revived in 1967 with Friday's new partner, Joe Gannon, played by Harry Morgan, in which they modernized the subject matter to focus more on the current hippie drug culture. This version inspired the successful 1968 spin-off Adam 12, co-created by Robert Senator. It ran for 7 seasons, itself spinning off the 6-season run of Emergency in 1972. Sadly, in 1982, at just 62 years old, Jack Webb suddenly passed away. His truly inspirational impact led LA's police chief to retire Detective Joe Friday's 714 badge number, and in his honor, LA Mayor Bradley ordered flags lowered to half staff. With 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and Dragnet's 9 Emmy wins, it goes without saying that Jack Webb inspired many of the police procedural and buddy cop TV shows that most of us know and love. This is Pat McCormick with your Retro TV Trivia from the Golden Rage of TV. You can also find me on YouTube and Facebook at Golden Rage of TV and on Twitter at Golden Rage of TV1. And now back to BK on the Air.
Thank you, Pat, for that Golden Rage of TV visit. It's nice to hear that you got Pat McCormick coming up on the Wilder Ride, your podcast, Alan. It's actually the listeners' lounge that you got going on, where you have people come on and talk to. And I was on there. I was on the inaugural guest.
You were
episode,
guest one.
I was on the goofy pilot episode, which was awkward. I'm like, oh no, what are we going to do here?
Yeah, it was real awkward. You had no idea how to take control of the microphone.
It was fun. It was fun, though. I had a good time.
You know what?
I'm glad Pat's coming on
there. It has been such fun to bring a breath of fresh air to the podcast with everything that went on, with Walt's mom passing away, with COVID-19. Oh, yeah. And so much of our recording we were doing with local guests in our studio. We couldn't do that here. It became one of those things where we were already so far behind.
Right.
We just said, you know what? We talked about doing a sideshow anyway. Sideshow Bob.
Right.
We talked about doing a side. So I said, let's just do it. Because you've got your new mic now, you finally figured out how to connect it.
Yeah, and you don't. And
for 3 episodes, he kept, I'm hooked up, and he was talking through his laptop mic. I'm like, there's no way you're talking through your new mic.
Right.
It sounds like there's an echo in the room. It sounds like you're talking in the bathroom.
Yeah, but plus anyway, it's easier to do that type of, just have someone on, do that. You don't have to worry about going through, because a lot of people don't know that it takes a lot of production work to go through a movie 1 minute at a time and do that. I mean, it's a. You guys are finding out it's a lot of work.
It's a ton of work. But
your wives are on the verge of going to the divorce lawyer and talking to him. That's okay. Everything's okay now, though. Let's just say that.
We think.
Okay, good. At least with you, right? Yeah. Let's talk to Walt about that.
No, apparently I've adopted a whole new series of problems. I was like, I said I wasn't going to do that anymore, but instead you went and did this. I'm like,
that's good. But you got Pat McCormick coming up, who always is with us with the Golden Rage of TV.
Yeah.
And what's great is he just mentioned Dragnet and all the things that Jack Webb did. How cool would it be to reach that level of television, just entertainment legendary like he did, because he started Dragnet on the radio. You heard Pat talk about it. Then he went into the television show Dragnet in the 50s. Then it went on a little kind of a hiatus for a little while and returned in the 60s as a new Dragnet show in color. It just didn't switch over to color in the next season. It was a few years before he came back in the 60s. And he was in color, had a new partner, Harry Morgan, who went on to play Colonel Potter in MASH. And then he went on. Then it spun off into Adam 12 spun off from that, which was a fantastic, one of the first great cop shows about just 2 regular cops on the beat encountering things that were very realistic at the time for L.A. Then you had Emergency, the fire rescue show spinoff from that, which was another huge hit. You know you're a huge hit if you got a 10 lunchbox made of you. Dragnet did, Adam 12 did, and Emergency did. And what Pat didn't mention, I'll add this to, because it had nothing to do with Dragnet, but I'll add this to Jack Webb's repertoire, is do you remember a very short-lived show, I think in the late 70s, of maybe 78, 79, 80, somewhere in there, called Project UFO?
Yeah.
Does that ring a bell?
Yes.
That was a Jack Webb show, too.
That was the story of 2 Air Force guys assigned to look into basically Project
Exactly.
Blue Book, but they couldn't call it Project Blue Book.
Right.
So they call it Project UFO. Yeah,
they
I
were with the
watched
Air
it.
Force. And they went out and investigated these UFO stories, and people would, as they would tell them and recollect them, you would see what happened in the flashback. You know, they'd see the UFO on the hill or something would abduct them or something. One of the guys that played him was, I think, I can't remember his name, but he played, remember Colonel Flagg on MASH, the guy who was insane?
Yes.
He was one of them.
Yeah.
He was one of the Air Force guys. Now his name escapes me.
A guy in my memory could also be mistaken for Tommy Lee Jones, just that sort of his facial features and hair.
And also, you know, that show, whereas it wasn't anywhere near as popular as anything else Jack Webb did, he produced the show and actually provided the opening narration of the show. When you come on, he's like, these UFO instances, is that Jack Webb voice coming on at the beginning to present the show to you. So Jack Webb also did Project UFO as well. And I think they retired. I can't remember if Pat mentioned this. I think they retired. They gave him the honorary badge number, or retired that badge number after Dragnet went off the air or later on in his life. So yes, the great Jack Webb and Dragnet. I'm a fan of Dragnet. I used to watch Dragnet, and it was so weird because it was a, believe it or not, what was interesting about Dragnet is it was a 30-minute drama show. We don't see 30-minute dramas anymore.
It's hard.
Yeah,
tell
but
an
not
entire
for him.
story.
It was, when you watch it, you're like, that didn't seem like 30 minutes. It didn't seem too short. Didn't seem too long. That was fantastic the way that was presented if you watch it in its context.
There's a difference with the number of commercials that play today versus then.
That's true. It would be a 48-minute show now, I guess.
Well, yeah, because when you look at a lot of the 1-hour dramas today when they're streaming on television, most of them are between 41 to 46 minutes long.
And to show you how much it's changed, I remember vividly when Star Trek was released on videotape, when Paramount released it in the 80s on home video. Each episode was 52 minutes long.
Only 8 minutes of commercials.
So in the 60s, there were obviously only 8 minutes of commercials for a show back in the
amazing.
60s. That shows you the big difference in it. 770-386-1450 is our number. You can call me today and check in with anything that might be going on in your world. Are you happy that movies are coming back? Are you starting to break out of your home, sheltered, locked down, locked doors behind the curtains, shuttering in place or whatever? Are you starting to get out into the world, or have you been out in the world? Or have you still staying in? You can call me, let me know about it. I do have a story right here that I want to do on the heels of the golden rage of TV. This is more of a movie thing, but this comes from Ben Travis at Empire Magazine. Speaking of Empire Magazine, see, I'm going to get off track here because I thought of something else. Did you notice the latest Empire Magazine? It's called the Heroes issue, greatest heroes of all time. And their heroes issue now has got a great cover on it. It's got Ripley on the front. It's got Indiana Jones.
Oh, I have not seen it.
It's got all kinds of heroes, like all in
that's
this
cool.
big collage.
No, I have not seen it.
Celebrating the heroes of all time. I've got the story here later. I think I'll read it. The readers have voted, and they have spoken who the number one biggest action hero, great hero of all time is, and we'll talk about that later. You can think about all the movie cinematic heroes out there. Who would get number one? And we'll talk about that too. But this comes from, if I got time to do this before the bottom of the hour, if not, we'll roll it over. Empire Magazine. Alien producer Walter Hill has a 50-page treatment for a fifth Ripley movie, Ripley with Alien. Not the stuff that Ridley Scott's doing now with Prometheus and his other movies that he's doing, Covenant. His alien movies or whatnot, which,
terrible.
By the way, I'm not a fan of. If they're like, Ridley Scott's thinking about doing the next movie in his new Alien thing, and I'm like, I don't care, because those movies look fantastic. They're beautiful to look at, as most Ridley Scott movies are, because he has that vision, and he always chooses a fantastic cameraman when he works with people. But the stories that are going on with these Alien movies now, I'm not into them. You obviously not in them either. But this is something different with the new Alien franchise now under Disney's command. Yes, Disney, after the 20th Century Fox merger, Disney kind of owns the rights to the Alien films now. There's clearly a future for the legendary sci-fi saga. It just remains unclear what exactly that future is. While Ridley Scott's Alien Covenant invited a potential third installment, it kind of had a cliffhangery ending to his Prometheus quasi-prequel series, they're calling it. There's been talk of a fifth film for years now, centering on Sigourney Weaver's iconic Ellen Ripley, including a proposed story from District 9's director Neil Blomkamp. And you remember that story.
That was the one that had us
about,
all super excited.
With Hicks and ignoring Alien 3 and everything.
Until he had a couple of flops in a row at the cinema, and all of a sudden they said we may have to distance ourselves from him.
Nothing like flops to ruin your career, unless you're M. Night Shyamalan. Speaking...
Shamalama ding dong.
That's right. Speaking to Empire, in the new Heroes issue on sale now on newsstands, Weaver revealed, Sigourney Weaver, that she received a 50-page treatment from Alien franchise producer Walter Hill around a year and a half ago for a different take on the fifth Ripley film, which would involve Ripley, the Alien movies, which came out in the aftermath of the Blomkamp's project falling through, though she ultimately not sure that the future of Alien rests in the revival of that legendary character. Quote, "I don't know," she said. "Ripley has gone in a different direction. Maybe Ripley has done her bit. She deserves a rest," unquote. That's from Sigourney. Talking through...
this is the actress going, do I really want to be on a set at my age doing that crap?
Running around with fire and flamethrowers and stuff. But you know what? I had a lot of... And I'll get into the rest of this later because I'm going to take a break.
I want to hear the rest.
I do respect Sigourney Weaver, let me say this, because she was one of those actresses that decided to revisit the Alien franchise even after she'd become a superstar. And I thought that was really great because she still liked that character. She still liked the franchise. You know, she came back for Alien Resurrection.
The fourth one.
When she actually came back. And I'm like, Alien 3. She came back to that after she'd reached superstar status. And I like that.
Well, she went, it was daring. She had to shave her head and everything.
Yeah.
It was one of those actress moments. It was about...
And
3
Croak
is great.
And Croak
never had 1 and 2. You just have to ignore 1 and 2.
BK on here.
All right, Scott, we're a team, and there's nothing to worry about. We come here, and we're going to conquer, and we're going to take some.
A is for apple, J is for Jack's, cinnamon toasty apple jacks. You need a good breakfast, that's a fact. Starting off with apple jacks, apple jacks, apple jacks. It's a real apple, that's what it packs. Apple tasty, crunchy too. Kellogg's apple jacks, apple jacks, apple jacks.
Apple Jack cereal from Kellogg's, part of your good breakfast.
Apple jacks, apple jacks,
Hey, you can call the show today at 770-386-1450. It's BK on the air here at WBHF. I want to remind everybody that if you missed the show, if you ever missed the show, ever, you can listen to the BK Escape Pod. I've created a podcast of the show that you can listen to at SoundCloud and Podbean. But the cool thing about Anchor, you go to Anchor, who now is part of Spotify now, go to Anchor and you can listen to shows from weeks ago. I can stock them up there and have a lot of older shows. I don't know why, but you're like, what was he talking about 6 weeks ago? Let me go listen. You can do that. But it's called the BK Escape Pod, and it's different from the show here live on the air that we do every Saturday because I add things, I take out the commercials, and I augment it with bionic parts, and I beef it up and put a few steroids in it. And
just for your sports
add
fans
some
out
sound
there.
effects to it and stuff like that's right. So it's kind of cool. So check it out, the BK Escape Pod. But right now it's time that we flash the audience. It just sounds better now that I can push the button and hear that now.
Yeah,
I know it was like magic.
Pushed the wrong one at that time.
It was. It doesn't matter. It's okay. It was like magic, though, when I was at home broadcasting due to the lockdown. I would say the word, and it would just play magically by itself. That was kind of cool.
It's always fun.
Happen, so.
But guess what? I've got the first news.
You do.
Ever been in a Turkish prison? No, anyway. According to this, a Turkish artist specializing in microsculpture said he unofficially broke a Guinness World Record by creating, check this out, BK, a chessboard, a chess set on a board, okay? The board and the set, all the pieces.
Yeah.
That measures 0.35 inches by 0.35 inches.
Now think about that.
A third of an inch.
I saw a picture of it on this article, and they really had to zoom in on it to get a photo of it. But listen to the rest of this, though.
Yeah, Nakati Korkmaz said his tiny chess set, which is 2 times smaller than the current Guinness World Record holder, took 6 months of working for 6 hours a day to create.
Wow.
Korkmaz said his microscopic chess set is completely usable, but players would need a microscope to see the board and special sticks he created to move the tiny pieces.
Ow.
What happens when you sneeze?
You have to start over, reset the chessboard, which will take quite some time.
The artist, who has more than 40 microsculptures on display in the Nakati Korkmaz Micro Miniature Art Center and Exhibition Area in Kusadazi Turkey said he is submitting evidence to Guinness to have his officially recognized as the world's smallest.
Can you?
I can't wrap my mind around that.
I can't see it because my eyes aren't that good. I can't see that.
Hard enough time reading text on my phone at my age.
People
right now.
that do that, they make the little sculptures out of toothpicks or the tiny little things. But it's not like they just do it. You look at it under the microscope, and you're like, it's perfect.
There's so
How
much
do they
detail.
see that? Now talk about artistry and whatnot. Do you remember? I watched a movie. Did you ever see The Agony and the Ecstasy with Charlton Heston playing Michelangelo?
Nope.
And Rex. Remember Rex Harrison that played Dr. Dolittle in the old movie? He played the Pope in it. And it's the whole movie about him painting the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel and all the stuff he had to go through, the agony and the ecstasy and the pain and torture that he went through. They were asking him, how do you, because you've seen Michelangelo's sculptures and stuff from back then, they're immaculate. And he goes, he said something I've heard other artists say before. He goes, when I look at a block of marble or a block of rock or a block of something that I'm about to carve, I see the sculpture in there. I just have to chip away what's around it. And I'm like, how? My mind can't fathom that.
Funny, when I try that, it looks like a kindergartner did it. It was like macaroni and yarn.
and spit and snot put together.
Like,
people go, hey,
too much glue.
My sister asked me to. She goes, can you build your nephew, your great nephew? Can you build a little doghouse for him when you come over here next weekend? I'm like, if I build him a doghouse, it's gonna look worse than something out of Beetlejuice. Because those Tim Burton structures, how they look all out of proportion.
Which, by the way, that might look cool.
It might look cool, yeah. And you can name your dog Frankenweenie.
Yeah, just paint it funky.
It would be great. Now it wouldn't look that good, so no, I can't do that. I got the next news. I see it in there. I got to chip it away. A worker at an Amazon warehouse in Wales is asking customers to check their packages for the engagement ring that fell off her finger at work. Isn't that weird? Jasmine Pageant, 18, said that she and her fiancé, fellow Amazon worker Josh Phillips, searched the warehouse near Swansea after the ring fell off her finger while she was packing boxes past Saturday. Pageant said the warehouse manager temporarily stopped work on the floor to search the warehouse and trucks, but employees were unable to locate the ring. Pageant is also asking anyone who finds the ring that they did not order inside their Amazon package to contact her on Facebook or report the discovery to Amazon. So that, again, that's Jasmine Pageant. Contact Amazon. If you get a package from Amazon, we're helping out here. And if you got it and there's a ring in there, please don't keep it and sell it. This girl's looking for it because it might be a pretty nice ring.
On the flip side, it might be the universe telling you 18, engaged, probably too young.
You're better
too
not
young.
Get married.
This is us telling you you've lost the ring. No quest for you.
That's right.
No ring to rule them all.
You should postpone your engagement.
Yes. You are way too young to make this decision. Otherwise, you'll be looking for your next ring in a couple of years. All right, I got the next news.
Too bad somebody didn't tell us that a few years ago. many years ago.
You know what, though?
But it's okay.
As we often say, without the experiences of the first, we wouldn't be able to appreciate the second.
That's true. I don't think that we would be the guys we are today if we didn't go through what we did.
I know I wouldn't.
And neither would anybody else.
All right, here we are. From the UPI, an airport parking garage in Germany has been converted into a drive-through art gallery.
Oh, this is cool.
Displaying about 300 works in a way that complies with coronavirus-inspired I hate using the term social, but physical distancing guidelines. The Cologne Bonn Airport parking garage was transformed into a gallery displaying paintings, sculptures, and other works of art to visitors who just drive through. The artworks from about 50 different artists are displayed on luggage carts arranged into aisles. It's kind of neat. Something to bring some culture to people.
I wonder if our friend Malte in Germany have heard of this.
Malta.
Of this?
Do you have one of your videos playing on loop, Malta? We need to know. Call us. Call us on your...
yeah.
You got nothing else to spend your money on. You call us long distance.
Yes.
International call to BK on the
and
air.
us, we just have no money to spend. It's totally different with us. I got the next news.
We're worth it.
Where?
We're like what was it
L'Oreal or Revlon? I know where you're going with that because I'm worth it.
L'Oreal.
Was it L'Oreal?
Yes, because I'm worth it.
Did you see the poster they made of Revlon or L'Oreal where it was Thor and he had the long blonde hair and it had the Revlon logo on it? It was
awesome.
perfect. Got some Marvel news coming up on our This Day in History coming up later in the program. From UPI, a British Columbian woman said that she was overwhelmed with relief when a wallet she lost at Walmart was returned with its contents and more than $5,000 in cash still intact.
Really?
But the problem is there was $10,000. No, I'm kidding. Only 5 came back. No, it was the whole $5,000. River Johnson of Enderby said that she returned home from taking her elderly parents shopping at the Walmart store in Vernon before she realized she no longer had the wallet, which contains $7,000 in Canadian currency, which is about $211 in U.S. currency. Johnson said she called the store, even though it was closed at the time, and was relieved when an employee answered the phone. She returned that she got an employee answering the phone at Walmart in Canada.
No, wait a minute.
That's a.
First of all.
At least for us here, like, who gets that here in the United States?
75 registers, 2 of them open.
That's right. She said she called the store and an employee answered the phone. She returned the following day and was told that a manager, Ralph Buzine, had found the wallet and stored it in the safe in hopes that the owner returning to claim it. Johnson said she was especially impressed after learning that Buzine had lost his own business due to the COVID-19. He had a gym, workout gym, and he lost the business due to the COVID-19 pandemic. She said Buzine told her Walmart store policy forbids him from accepting any rewards for his deed. She tried to give him a reward for that, even on top of everything else, and he couldn't accept it.
That's awesome. That happened to me when we were in St. Augustine.
Oh, really?
We were in a restaurant.
You told me that, and you
my
lost
wallet.
your
I was wearing a pair of shorts where it would work its way out just by
Right.
moving. I swear, I was like, oh my God, I don't know where my wallet is. We couldn't find it anywhere. We were leaving.
Right. That was a nightmare.
It showed up in the mail.
Really?
Everything intact
See,
from
that's great.
from the restaurant owner.
Sometimes the milk of human kindness does not curdle. I think that's great, don't you? When that happens?
Yeah, normally I'm stuck with cottage cheese. So.
Right. And I hate it when you wear shorts when things work their way out. I mean, I get rid of shorts like that. I don't wear those anymore.
When we come back, I got to tell you about what happened to me yesterday.
Oh, really? Can you tell me?
Yes,
on the air?
I can do it on
Okay,
air.
good.
I can do it in a way that's
good.
safe.
We got one more news flash when we come back after the break. It's PK on the air. Yeah, I'm back. All right.
Stay tuned. Next on Battle of the Planets, Earth is attacked by a frightening craft from outer space. A monstrous serpent-like ship sent by the evil ruler of planet Spectra to devour all of Earth's oil resources.
Transmute. Well, we finally smoked you out and got you in the air. Come on.
Watch as a young girl joins up with G-Force to help Mark and the rest of the team defeat this latest menace devised by the evil Zoltar. Be sure to watch this exciting episode coming up next.
It's okay if you don't understand what he's talking about. He probably doesn't either. It's BK on the air on AM 1450, FM 100.3, and online using the Tunein radio app.
Hey, we're looking out in the parking lot, and Jack is pulling out in his big
Traffic Trooper Jack.
His big red pickup truck.
I
out there.
like that rack he's built into his pickup. He could hold a lot of kayaks.
Yeah. Hey, Jack, nice rack.
Nice rack, Jack.
On the truck. What are you thinking out there? Come on.
Well, it is me. It is me.
And it is this show.
Yeah.
I am back in the studio.
I do want to talk about things coming out of your shorts, but
okay, good.
In a different way. But first,
you mean generally, not mine?
No, not yours. No, I don't know. I don't want to. If something's over there, you keep it over there because you're below the desk. I can't
You realize
tell.
that management knew that I was coming back today, and they're like, "Oh God, he's back on the air live."
All right. Before we do that, let me finish this up. I've got the last news.
Flash.
Yes, we continue with our German stay. Did you do this on purpose because of Malta?
Yeah.
We went to Germany.
Yeah, I did. I used to like that. Yeah, that's nice.
That's right. Police in Germany say they had an easy time tracking down a petty thief. He left something behind.
Okay, let me see. Okay,
Want to guess what?
So somebody robbed a place or something, and they're all stupid. Criminals are always doing something stupid.
Right.
So let me try to guess what he left behind. He left his wallet behind. We just talked about wallets.
We've had those stories, but no, not a wallet.
He left his image behind on a camera. They know who he is.
No, he didn't.
He didn't wear a watermelon on his head. So yes, remember that?
Hey, melon head.
Okay, another news flash. He left a clue behind. I guess.
Well, he did. He did leave something important
what
behind.
What could he have possibly left behind?
His own son.
What?
You mind telling me what this is all about, mister?
What? So, his bring kid to day, it was a daddy day, or whatever you call it. Bring your son to work day. Dad, what do you do? Well, I'm a petty thief. So come to work with me.
He left his son behind.
I'm so used to working alone. Totally forgot.
That is so funny and really sad at the same time. Oh,
forgot his own son at the scene of the crime. Bautzen police said the 29-year-old suspect ran off with the $5.65 worth of goods.
Son, I'm not very good at my profession either.
That triggered an alarm at a supermarket. Like, oh, alarm, time to run. Come on, kid, let's scram. Police said the man's 8-year-old son was left behind, and so the culprit was quickly identified.
That's terrible.
The suspect, a German, also managed to fall during his escape and ended the day in the hospital.
It was even worse. It got even worse as he went along. Oh, my goodness.
What am I missing? I got my keys, wallet. It's like one of the first series of The Simpsons.
Got my $5 I robbed from the place. I got everything here.
Remember one of the first when The Simpsons were big? I don't know if this is going way back. There was one of those classic episodes where Marge says, "Now, Homer, don't forget, I won't be here. You need to go pick up Bart." And he's in the tub, and the dog comes over and "Pick up Bart! Pick up Bart!" He goes, "Pick a bar? What the heck is pick a bar?"
See, that fits. That fits.
Poor guy. He's like, I got my wallet. I got my keys.
Dude, he's worse than Homer.
I've got the stuff I stole. I can't think of it. It's just it's somewhere in the back of my mind.
This guy's at a computer like Homer. He's like, press any key to start. Okay, where's the any key? I don't know where it is. Oh, never mind. I'll order a tab. And he presses the tab key. Oh, yeah. That's just another file it under stupid criminals. Number one, you took your kid to theft with you, so that's crazy. That's about as bad as wearing a watermelon on your head like those guys did.
So very quickly, this happened to me yesterday. You know remember the whole Bill Clinton, the big question, boxers or briefs?
Right, and that's been the question for years. Yeah,
you can buy the board game, boxers or briefs.
By the way, what are you?
Boxers.
Okay,
I've loved boxers.
I'm briefs.
Yeah.
And you know what? I've tried the other one, and maybe you've tried the other one, and it just feels uncomfortable.
I started with the first.
Oh, you did? You were a convert.
And didn't realize how constricting that was.
Okay. Really?
Now, I will tell you on the flip side, the whole idea that gravity helps with anything, no, not yet anyway.
Don't use the phrase flip side when you're talking about underwear.
So that's the funny part.
Okay, all right.
So I was getting dressed in the morning. It was dark. And apparently I put my boxers on backwards.
Wow, backwards boxers.
So now, guys, when you use a urinal, you don't have to. I mean, a urinal you can stand at, so you just kind of have to kind of unzip and dig.
6 feet apart now.
And I'm digging, and I'm digging. Like, where's the flap? Where's the frickin' flap? I'm like, oh no, oh no! I've got my underwear on backwards. Thankfully, nobody else decided to try to use the escape hatch on the rear.
Right. Escape pod. That's the
look, guys. A window of opportunity has opened back here.
The AS escape pod.
Normally, we don't get that opening.
Right.
So anyway, I was like I'm like, oh,
we're skirting all over the place.
I'm like, so what do I do now?
Right.
So
what'd you do?
I just got creative.
What'd you do?
I got creative. I just had to dig around a little bit longer.
Okay. Well, you could have just pulled them down.
Well, not at the urinal. I'm not gonna be like the 4-year-old who's trying to like on tippy toes get to one.
Well, it better to look like the 4-year-old than the pervert in there taking your pants off. What's that guy doing over there? I don't know. He didn't even get in a stall. Come on, you can get in a stall.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Oh, underwear stories. How did we get to that? That's so funny. That's so funny.
You said something about dropping. I don't remember.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, your wallet coming out of your pants.
Wallet coming out, yeah. Well, I started talking about this story before we got sidetracked with everything else we were doing about the Ripley treatment of the Alien script by Walter Hill that includes Ripley. Hopefully, in the next movie, I'll continue with it now. He was talking through Ripley's role in each of the original 4 Alien films. In the interview, Sigourney Weaver said it has a lot of affection for the role, but she goes, I've always felt that she was such a partner, talking about Ripley, Sigourney's character. She's always in my stomach. For some reason, that's what she said. She recently came across some photos from production on Ridley Scott's original Alien film while cleaning her apartment, Sigourney did. She said, me with the special effects guys, she laughed. I'd be hanging up in the air and they would pipe me tea laced with rum to keep me going without me asking for it. I was part of the crew, and that was something I loved. I wasn't dressed in some little dolly dress trying to keep clean. I was in jumpsuits in Alien, looking like a grease monkey in the trenches with the crew, unquote.
Except for one scene. But that's okay. I love...
Except for one scene that we all paused as young men
and
over and over again.
Imagine, that was her debut. That was her film
yeah,
debut. She was a trained actress, had a stage background. I think she went to Yale, School of Drama.
What a movie to premiere with, and what a character to play.
When you look at it back in the 70s, and I get this, and I get they had to have the one underwear scene.
Right.
But that time, producers actually went to Ridley Scott, where's the sex scene? Because it's late 70s. We need to have a nude scene and a sex scene. Where is it? And he's like, well, it's coming later. He actually lied the whole time. It's coming later.
Yeah.
But you need it in the first 12 minutes of the movie. And that you didn't realize producers were so formulaic at that time.
And every other film
Ridley
like that
Scott
had it.
was like, I'm telling something different here.
Right.
I'm telling a different story, and I'm not making the female just eye candy for the sake of putting it in the film.
Right.
She's actually the hero.
Yeah.
I don't even think they knew those executives at the time, that she was going to be the hero. And they kept thinking, well, you've got this guy, this actor, what's his name, the Tom
Skerritt.
Tom Skerritt.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, he's the hero, right? I mean, you wouldn't cast
Sort
Tom
of,
to
yeah,
die.
yeah.
You don't put him, and you let some newbie that nobody knows be the hero, right? No, I wouldn't do that.
And you're watching the film, and they're like, wait, it's halfway through the film, and the male hero, Tom, he's dead. Yeah. He's gone. What's going on here?
Ridley took a chance, because you know what? Audiences and even the producers, even though some of them were really upset that there wasn't the obligatory scene.
Right.
You know what? They were so on the edge of their seats, they'd forgotten that was missing.
Could you see him in there saying, well, what it is it's a gothic horror film set in outer space. And they're like, what? It's a what?
Truckers in space. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So there's going to be a sex scene.
Well, all right. So
it'll be later.
So they go to the truck stop, and that's when that happens, right?
Right. The truck stop in
there
space.
There is a stop, yes.
Well, you know, the last, what is it? The last, I don't know how many minutes, 20-plus minutes of the film is just her running around with no dialogue.
Well, there is the computer, and there is her yelling at the computer.
But there's not a lot of. But toward the end, where she's running around, you just hear the mother computer talking. Yeah, but she's not really. She's yelling and stuff. But it's just Ripley running around trying to get stuff done.
There's very little. Just she yells
strobe
at
lights,
mother,
fire,
right?
That look, you know.
It's so frenetic. I love it. And I told you this story since we were almost out of time. When my girls were doing that whole, they downloaded a list, 100 horror movies you have to see. When they got to Alien, I sat with them. And for the first 30 minutes, they were actually bored. They said, this is kind of, when does this pick up? I'm like, just trust me. By the end, they were sitting on the couches, their knees up. They're like, they were hiding below their knees except for their eyes. Like, oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. I'm like, see, it's a slow boil, which, by the way, most modern audiences don't like that anymore.
You've seen the movie probably 50 times since 1979, and you were sitting up with your knees up, too. Still.
No, I'll tell you,
you can admit it. I would be.
I did catch that director's cut that includes some of the extra scenes.
Yeah.
And although it's fun to look at those extra scenes, I think it really slows the movie down at one point,
really
and at one point takes some of the drama away. I'm like, that's kind of boring. I see the alien in the background. There's nothing exciting about that. You know?
I'll close it out with the end of the article here. It remains to be seen exactly what Disney chooses to do with Alien going forward, as far as any sequels go with Ripley. Ridley Scott himself recently spoke about the franchise needing to re-evolve, he said. Sometimes I hate that word when it comes to filmmakers.
Because he screwed up?
Though it would be fascinating to find out what happens after the Covenant, it says, after the Covenant's tantalizing cliffhanger. I'm like, I find myself thinking about the next Ridley Scott type movie that fits in with Prometheus and Covenant, and I guess that's what you're going to do now is call your movie the name of the ship, because that's what they are. The first one was the Prometheus. This is the next one, though. He actually added the word alien to it. He got smart to go, oh, I need to remind people that these are part of the Alien films.
Well, because
he
was trying to be really funny and coy with Prometheus going, it's really not a part of the Alien franchise.
But come on.
And then at the end, you've got like the Alien. I'm like,
come on. Why are you trying to kind of push aside and ignore the movie that put you on the map? You know, don't ignore it.
That was like the J.J. Abrams Star Trek saying, oh, it's not the Khan story next.
Right.
And then we find out, no, it was.
No, it was. Yeah. Don't distance yourself from the stuff.
Either embrace that you're rewriting the original movies as your new universe,
I agree with
don't.
That. Right.
But I think you upset a lot of
people.
Right,
you do. Yeah. Same thing. Yeah, you're right.
I think you really ticked a lot of people off.
It's after 10 o'clock. You can.
It is. It's after. Look at it. Is it already wine 030?
Anyway. Speaking of wine 030, I got some freezer pops story later. I'm going to tell you about that you're going to love.
Apparently, I will.
Alan wants wine freezer pops,
beer pops,
and coffee pops. Oh, for some reason, I've tried iced coffee before, but I never could get into it. It's just kind of weird.
I can't either.
It's all right, but I'm like,
I cannot drink iced coffee.
You know, it'd be kind of. I don't mind people that like
Even
it.
in the summer, I'll have a hot cup of coffee.
Yeah,
every day.
The British folks can't understand why we like iced tea. So it's just a different type of thing. Hot tea, I don't enjoy hot tea as much either. So hey, we're different.
I can enjoy hot tea, but I prefer ice.
Speaking on there, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will have more. I'm back. I'm so glad to be back. I'm glad that Alan's here, and I can look at him and talk. Speaking.
You owe me $95,000, and I want it now.
But what about me and my 4 children?
I'm going to have to sell the cattle ranch.
How much?
$200,000.
Oh, I've got to pay my father-in-law $10,000.
Oh, why not buy insurance? Decisions. Oh, gaming. Lawyers, salary,
There's a game called Life that's really worth living. You and your family have got to play it. The Game of Life from Milton Bradley.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
The Force will be with you, always.
As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly.
Hey, we're back. It's BK on the air here. Let's enter that world that we love that's in a galaxy far, far away with Channel Star Wars.
Greetings to all on the planet Druidia. It's time for Star Wars Daily Weekend Edition, brought to you this week by Scroob's Bottled Air, Barf's Spacecraft Repair Shop, and ChannelStarWars.com. Star Wars news for Star Wars fans by Star Wars fans. Faster than ludicrous speed, I'm your host, Mike Mann.
Prepare ship for light speed. No, light speed is too slow. Light speed too slow? Yes, we're gonna have to go right to ludicrous speed.
Kicking things off this week, The Hollywood Reporter told us that for the second week in a row, Disney has released cast editions for the Cassian Andor series to be aired on Disney+. This time they bring us Guinevere O'Reilly and Denise Grew. While O'Reilly will be reprising her role as Mon Mothma from Rogue One and Star Wars Rebels, Channel Star Wars would like to note that Grew has been added to the list of relatively unknown talent recently signed to the Star Wars project.
I got a really good feeling about this.
Moving on, this week's episode of the Clone Wars Season 7 titled The Phantom Apprentice, things are really ramping up to a sinister boiling point. We see the continuation of the meeting of Maul and Ahsoka Tano while tying into events from the Revenge of the Sith during a conversation with Kenobi. Ahsoka informs him of Darth Sidious, whom Maul had mentioned as the future ruling interest of the galaxy. Where could this go? What could be happening? With Mandalorians, a lightsaber duel, and of course clone humor, you'll definitely want to tune in and check out this episode.
Anakin Skywalker was weak. I destroyed him.
Then I will avenge his death.
Revenge is not the Jedi way.
I am no Jedi.
And lastly, The Mandalorian Season 2 will be released in October of 2020. But it was already reported this week that Season 3 is already in pre-production. Sources go on to point out that Bob Iger made comments about profit margins and revenue, blah, blah, blah. He basically says that The Mandalorian did far better than expected. Season 2 will be amazing from all aspects. Plan on keeping this train rolling as long as they can. And we appreciate that. Since we only have The Mandalorian Season 2, the Cassian Andor standalone series, Project Luminous, and the High Republic, and the Kenobi series to look forward to thus far.
I'm so excited, and I just can't hide it.
And that's all the time we have this week. Be sure to check back next week for all the latest and greatest in Star Warsing. For ChannelStarWars.com, I'm Mike Mann, pointing out Kylo Ren and Rey were related. Think about it, people. And now back to BK on the air.
Oh, I'm So glad to be back today. Oh, yeah. Crank up the guitar. That's right, it's BK on the air here, having a good time back behind the microphone, no longer at home broadcasting from the Fortress of Solitude. They've actually let me back in the studio. That's either a good or a bad thing, depending on who you're talking.
Right now, for me, it's a great thing.
It's a great thing. So
I can kick back and relax and just have fun. See, when you're running the board, a lot of people don't realize that. When we had to do this remotely, there was a whole lot of well, there's a lot of going on behind the scenes to make it sound like there's nothing happening.
Not to bore everybody, but you're right, yeah.
And it's great to have you back behind the console.
I'm so glad to be back. Yes, it's fun. Thank you, Mike Mann with Channel Star Wars. Check them out at channelstarwars.com. I'm glad that they're well and good and still operating and 100% all the thrusters.
Yeah, although they had a couple of weekends off.
They did, but they're back now. So they're back like a did you say, like they're back like an Ewok with a slingshot. Maybe that's not a good analogy.
We'll use an Indiana Jones as it's like a bad penny. It keeps turning up.
I always come back. I always turn up, yeah.
Like a bad penny.
You do.
I keep turning up.
You do Harrison Ford over there, and I remember when Mark Hamill did his appearance on Jimmy Kimmel or whatever, and he was talking about Harrison Ford. Hamill's great at impressions. He does, he was on the Muppet Show. He does voices. He's the Joker and everything. He's got a lot of voices in his head that he can do. And he was talking about Harrison Ford in the trash compactor scene of Star Wars. And when they come out, Mark Hamill was like, but wait a minute, my hair's all dry now. Continuity problem. Won't the audience worry about my hair being dry because it was wet in the trash compactor? And he goes, Harrison Ford came up to me and said, hey, kid, it's a science fiction movie. If they're worried about your hair, we got a whole bunch of new problems or something like that. And he sounded just like him. And I thought that was so funny.
Have you not paid attention? You're not getting any direction at all.
That's right. The director's saying, run over there.
I don't think that guy cares about performance, kid.
And then they showed the clip to Harrison Ford next week. He goes, hey, Mark Hamill did a great impression of you. And they showed it to him. And they go, what do you think about that? He goes, kid's got the job. He goes, that's me. He just agreed with him. That was so great. So, but I do have some Indiana Jones news later on, by the way, in the program. We'll talk about that too. Yes. This do you? Yes.
Is it any good?
Unless I forget about it, like I do, I'll tease a story and I'll never say it on the air, and then I have to put it on Facebook for everybody to read it. But at least I put it there. So. Let's do this story right quick because I want to talk about this because I got it in the stack from slashfilm.com. And we do love to talk about movies, if you haven't noticed here on the show. Bride of Frankenstein, the reboot for this, is still being stitched together at Universal. I didn't write that, but isn't that clever?
The
reboot isn't quite dead yet. They thought it was at one point. It's like it's Frankenstein.
Who wrote this?
It's like it's not. It's Frankenstein. Come on.
It's like one of our dads wrote this. Like your dad wrote this.
Well, it's people at Universal writing it. The ones that screwed up on the Jaws labeling I told you about. The Jaws insert for the DVDs. I think it is only in the UK, but I'm not sure. I told you that they misprinted a lot on the new Jaws 4K DVD. At one point, the film was supposed to be a part of Universal's dark universe, but then that entire idea was chased away by torch-wielding villagers. Now Universal's taking a different and so far better approach to reviving their classic monsters. Hey, they're building a whole new park at Universal 3 blocks down the road that's going to include a gigantic Universal classic horror section down there that's going to be part of that. So they're really doing it in a big way, even as far as the park goes. They've already released The Invisible Man, which I haven't seen yet, which I hear is fantastic. I want to see that.
Everyone I know that saw it said it's brilliant.
As we all remember, The Invisible Man was one of the Universal monsters with Blumhouse, and have several other monster-related titles in the works. According to screenwriter David Kipp, Bride of Frankenstein is one of them. Back when the Dark Universe was still a thing, they started with the horrible Tom Cruise's Mummy movie, which I finally watched that.
The problem with David Kipp is he's the guy that Spielberg used to rely on to help polish his scripts, and then he came in with the second Jurassic Park and made it so dumb with the. He's the one who put the Japanese guys running away from the T-Rex as in
Los Angeles,
as a reference to Godzilla.
Right.
When I see polished off by David Kipp,
he's on this. Let's take a break, and I'll do the rest of this when we come back because there's a lot of tidbits of information in here, which includes a little inspiration and hope for me for the Universal Monster future. It's BK on the air. Stay tuned.
Mattel introduces the Battlestar Galactica collection. You can imagine the colonial warrior against the evil Cylon Centurions.
Cylon Centurions ready? Check. Activate eye scanner. Energize pulsator. Aim laser pistol. On target. Colonial Warrior changing scanner to laser. Get it!
Each figure sold separately, batteries not included. Cylon Centurion and Colonial Warrior from the Battlestar Galactica collection, new from Mattel.
And now back to the guy who knows no limit on self-promotion. It's BK on the air.
Hey, we're back. It's BK on the air here. I want to continue this story that I was talking about before we went to the break about the Bride of Frankenstein reboot that Universal is stitching together over there. Where did we leave off? Well, you remember the Dark Universe that they tried to start with The
Mummy.
Tom Cruise's The Mummy. Now, I mistakenly thought that it started with Dracula Untold, the movie that came out before The Mummy.
Which you said was good.
Which I thought was fantastic. It's Luke Evans, who I think is a great English actor. Luke Evans could be a great James Bond. He's another one of those guys that I would put him in the Bond thing. But that one didn't do so well either. And it left itself open for a sequel at the end. It was fantastically done about the origins of Vlad the Impaler and how he turned into Dracula. But the Dark Universe for Universal came crashing down and everything went out the window. Since then, Universal has found success with working with Blumhouse on The Invisible Man. And now reboots of The Wolfman, Dracula, and more are all in the works now, and it looks like they haven't pulled the plug again on The Bride of Frankenstein just yet. Why? It doesn't seem like Bill Condon and Javier Bardem are still involved, who were working on it before. David Koepp is still working on the script, much to Alan's chagrin over there. Maybe he's okay sometimes. Maybe he'll pull a rabbit out of the hat here.
He's no Kasdan.
No, he's not. Lawrence Kasdan is great. Speaking to Collider, he said, there was one thing I did during quarantine. I brought back Bride of Frankenstein into a place where I kind of always wanted it to be. Universal was very gracious to let me try again. First of all, wouldn't it be great if someone goes, Alan, we want you to try your hand at writing the new Star Wars film. Would you like to do that? Work on it for us? It'd be great to just have someone say, Universal tells him, yeah, go ahead and work on Frankenstein.
I could do worse.
Yeah, because they had geared up and shut down famously the Dark Universe fiasco, he says. Well, not fiasco, but disappointment. So I have a version now of Bride of Frankenstein, and they have a version that we all really like, and I think they're talking to directors for it now. And it's not a great big $150 million extravaganza with giant movie stars. That makes me feel good. It's not a scaled down as Invisible Man, but much more reasonable, doable thing, and while I think a really cool idea, and it's all present day. Now, the original Bride of Frankenstein was released in 1935 and is often hailed as one of the best horror movies ever made. After the success of Frankenstein, director James Whale was able to take his sequel into a stranger, funnier, campier direction, resulting in one of the most memorable entries into the original Universal Monsters lineup. Many people regard The Bride of Frankenstein as a better film than the first Frankenstein film. Many fans do think that. So
nothing better than Madeline Kahn kind of mocking that when she comes out of the bathroom.
You got it, mister. Yeah, you're right. Which she did brilliantly, by the way, with the wig and everything.
I now have two hampers in here, one for regular clothes and one for your poo-poo undies.
Which was great.
Poo-poo undies.
And if you want to check that out, check out the Wilder Rides Young Frankenstein episodes, which were fantastically funny, especially the ones I was on.
She's great.
I just
miss
love it.
her.
I just love it when he's trying to say bye to her on the train in Young Frankenstein when he's leaving, and she's like, she won't let him touch her. No, the nails, the makeup, the lipstick, and whatever. And he even gets on the train and tries to blow her a kiss, and she goes, ducks. Oh, like it's going to mess her up. And she's like, oh, okay, it's
great stuff.
It's a blow kiss. Well, let's do this on this day in history, since we're trucking right along here at warp speed. Today is June the 13th. We got a lot of things that happened on this day in history. 1920, the U.S. Post Office says on this day in history that children cannot be sent by parcel post.
Oh, good.
After various instances
did they
where
try
they did
that?
that. Yes. Many people did that and did it successfully.
All right, Martha, train ticket to your sister is going to be like $12.
Could you imagine if we could still do that today?
But you know what? If we get the postman to pick him up, put a stamp on his forehead, and he can take him for like 12 cents.
So great. So, yeah, you can do it. But it took up to 1920 to do it. 1922. On this day in history, the longest recorded attack of hiccups begins. Charlie Osborne gets the hiccups and continues for 68 years on this guy, and he dies 11 months after it stops. Finally, I guess that was the precursor to him about to pass away. 11 months after his hiccup stops, he died. That was on this day in history. Isn't that weird?
Hiccups for 68 years?
I couldn't imagine having anything involuntary happening that I can't control over and over and over and over again.
Oh, my God. It would crack me up.
On this day in history, June 13th, 1962, Lolita, directed by Stanley Kubrick, opened on this day. One of my favorite directors, if not my favorite. 1970, on this day, June the 13th, the Beatles' Long and Winding Road single goes to number 1 and stays number 1 for 2 weeks. On this day in history, June the 13th, 1978, the film Grease opens. And it's the word. Grease is the word. I remember Grease well. I went to see it in 1978. I remember that. And I had the photo novel. Do you remember when movies had a photo novel? They'd come out with a little paperback book, and it would be the entire film, only with word. It was scenes from the film with word balloons like a comic book.
Oh, no, I don't.
That's the only way we could enjoy them back before we had VCRs and home video. We could watch the movie almost like a comic book. And it wasn't art. It was actually photos from the film in the right order of the film as you turn the page with word balloons and words added like a comic book.
It had to be a shortened version, though.
They did. It was, and they did Star Trek episodes that way, too.
They didn't do the whole singing and
I don't know. I'd have to look at it. I'd have to look up, but hey, if I tried to buy one now, I'd have to help me pay for it because it's probably a really expensive collector's item. On this day in history, June 13th, 1983, NASA's Pioneer 10 becomes the first man-made object to leave the solar system. And thank goodness it didn't run into some giant being that turned it into something evil and sent it back to Earth to destroy us.
Not yet.
Could still happen. June the 13th.
Not until the 23rd century.
That's right. Instead of Voyager, it's Pioneer. 2008, June the 13th, The Incredible Hulk, Marvel's Studios' The Incredible Hulk with Ed Norton opened on this date. And another one, 2012, on this date in history, June the 13th, The Amazing Spider-Man, directed by Mark Webb. You know, the one we don't like.
Right.
Opened on this day, but I did include it on the list here. Birthdays today. Today is Paul Lynn's birthday.
Aww.
By the way, we lost him in 1982.
Circle gets the square.
That's right. Templeton, Charlotte. The man who killed Captain Kirk, his birthday is today, too. Malcolm McDowell, actor Malcolm McDowell, Clockwork Orange.
Where did he go? He was like the hottest property for about a decade and a half.
He surfaces every now and then in some oddball movie every now and then. He's still out there running around. But what another intense actor in anything he's in. He's
time.
Intensely just intense. So intensely intense. Richard Thomas, John Boy himself from the Waltons. His birthday is today. A Marvel birthday today. At least we recognize him from Marvel. Stellan Skarsgård's birthday is today. Tim Allen's birthday is today. Mr. Galaxy Quest.
By the way, have you seen the Never Surrender documentary
No,
yet?
but I need to see it. That's on my list. I got to watch it.
It is so good. And the fact is, one of the things because I didn't want to do any spoilers.
Galaxy Quest.
Tim Allen was not the first suggestion, or second, or third,
to
or
play,
fifth, or 10th.
Really?
To be that person. In fact, a lot of people thought, you don't want a comic actor doing this. You want a dramatic actor because we want to make sure somebody can do the dramatic scenes.
Right.
And they were worried Tim Allen couldn't handle it because of his TV show and doing the voice of Buzz Lightyear. That's great, but can he handle it? It needs to be serious.
Right.
And apparently Spielberg was on the set the day that they shot the scene where he was forced to admit, I'm just an actor. And Spielberg goes, holy cow, he's acting.
Who heard him say that? That's cool. Awesome. By the way, today is Captain America's birthday, Chris Evans. Chris Evans' birthday today. Think about this, how old Chris Evans is. Do you remember when you and I in 1981, we weren't together, but we did it in 1981. We went to see Raiders of the Lost Ark when it came out, right? You remember it.
Mm-hmm.
When you were in the theater seeing Raiders of the Lost Ark, you were how old? In
11.
81. 11?
Well, almost 11.
11. That's when Chris Evans was born.
81.
When we were watching Raiders of the Lost Ark.
So you were a little older.
Yeah. So I forget how young he is.
He made better career decisions.
He did, yes.
He got to a better spot
from 81.
Sooner than we did anyway.
My career decision after seeing Raiders was to go out and get a footlong hot dog at the restaurant. So 1986, Kat Denning was born. Kat Dennings from Thor and Thor: The Dark World. She plays Natalie Portman's assistant girl in that. I think she has a TV show.
There was that TV show,
Two Broke Girls or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. She's in that. So she was born in 86. So we're even that much older than her. So number one on the Billboard charts. We'll stick with Grease, 1978. Number one on the Billboard charts 42 years ago. You're the One That I Want by John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. I'm going to catch holy heck for this, but it's hard for me to watch Grease now because it gets on my nerves.
Well,
it annoys me and the songs, and I'm like, please. Okay.
I ruined it for everybody apparently when I brought up this theory, so let's do it again. The whole movie is actually the woman's dying recollections of what she imagined to be true.
Yeah, it's true. Because in the end, they float off in a car.
Right. She drowned on the beach.
Right.
She wasn't revived, but she imagined what it would have been like, what life she would have had she been revived.
And don't they, the whole movie's her dream.
Yeah, and at the very end, that's the reason why she's disappearing into the clouds,
Yeah.
because she's in heaven now.
Yeah.
Sandy died on the beach. Sandy Beach.
You'd be. Speaking of that, I'm still finding sand. I'm sorry, I got sand on the desk here. Look, I don't know where'd it come from? See, there it is, right there. And you'd be surprised how many people get mad at you when you bring that up about Grease that are big fans. You're like, no, it's not. She's not dead. I just do it to make them mad.
And every single one of them can't get it out of their heads when they go rewatch it. Like,
right.
I refuse to believe. Yeah, here I am, rent-free in your head.
That's like all the Disney fans, people who are so adamantly love Disney. They worship at the altar of Walt. You know,
Uncle Walt.
Hey, I got somebody very close to me that does it. I got some friends that love Disney so much, and they get so mad when I tell them all the time, Walt's buried under the Hall of Presidents. His body's under there. No, he's not. It's been a rumor, but I always bring it up like it's fact. It's like, you don't know that?
You know that he had his head cut off and his brain, put into cryogenic sleep.
Futurama or something. Yeah, they hate that.
No, he didn't.
They hate that.
Oh yeah, no, he's just waiting for where they can bring him back.
I like to prod at the Disney fans a little bit. Come on, hey, people prod at me, make fun of me. I have to return the favor. Hey, we talked earlier about how we loved ice pops, and you love them. You know who's got the new ice pop coming out? Skittles. Skittles freezer pops. It's the best news ever. They're coming out with their own version of the Otter Pop. That's right. You can freeze the rainbow with their new freeze pop. So far, they've already been spotted at Dollar General store and some of the other places who also carried their freeze treats last year when they made a variation of flavor ice. These new ice pops come in green, grape, orange, and strawberry, and you can find them with other freezer pops. These are great for kids and adults alike, but if you're looking for something a little more adult than this, you can always try out the wine version of the Otter Pop. They got at Costco. That's for you, so you might like to get those instead. I love freezer pops. Excellent. So taste the rainbow. Skittles freezer pops. Just be on there. We'll be back. It's bottom of the hour. We'll be back. There's been a bunch of marketing blunders over the years. I mean, things that have happened that companies did, they're like, why did we do that? They slap their forehead, or they bang their head against a brick wall. Remember the guy that used to play the piano, and he's trying to, on Sesame Street, the puppet, and he's trying to think of the tune. He's like, he'll play a tune, and he'll go in something that's already written. He's like, oh, no, I'll never get it right. And he hits his head on the piano and makes the horrible piano sound. That's what they were doing. This is one right here that I wanted to talk about a few weeks ago, and it slipped by me, and it's part of the past, and it's part of something that you and I remember fondly from the 80s, or unfondly, depending on how you look at it. The story of one of the most memorable marketing blunders ever. To hear some tell it, April 23rd, 1985 was a day that will live in marketing infamy. On that day, the Coca-Cola Company took arguably the best risk in consumer goods history, announcing that it was changing the formula for the world's most popular soft drink and spawning consumer angst, the likes of which no business has ever seen, and I remember it. The Coca-Cola Company introduced reformulated Coca-Cola, often referred to as New Coke, marking the first formula change in 99 years. If something works, why mess with it? 99 years they had been using it. That's like the Colonel changing his, almost like the Colonel changing his chicken recipe. The company didn't set out to create the Firestorm.
Now it's 12 special herbs and spices.
Did they add to it or take it away? The company didn't set out to create the firestorm of consumer protest that ensued. Instead, the Coca-Cola Company intended to re-energize its Coca-Cola brand and the cola category in its largest market, the United States. Now, hold on a second. Let's go back up to earlier in the thing here. It says formula, changing the formula of the world's most popular soft drink. Okay. They were still the world's most popular. What does that mean? That means they're the most successful, biggest selling.
That means everybody else is number two.
Right.
Or worse.
Why would you go, okay, we're number one. let's change something. Why do we still want to be? Why do we want? Let's be higher than number one.
Now, does this article go into what a lot of people theorize why they may have done this purposely?
Let's see if it does. The firestorm ended with the return of the original formula, now called Coca-Cola Classic, a few months later. The return of the original formula, Coca-Cola, on July the 11th. This is how quick it happened. This happened on April 23rd, 1985. Coca-Cola Classic came out on July 11th, 1985. It wasn't even the next year.
Because it was all planned.
That they did it. You think it was? Put the cap on 79 days that that revolutionized the soft drink industry, transformed the Coca-Cola Company, and stands today as testimony, some think, to the power of taking intelligent risks even when they don't quite work as intended. I don't know how intelligent that was, or was it on purpose? The story of New Coke is widely recalled, but the context is often forgotten. In 1985, the Coca-Cola Company's share lead over its chief competitor in its flagship market with its flagship product had been slowly slipping, they say, for 15 consecutive years. It's not enough that we've still number one. The cola category in general was lethargic. Consumer preference for Coca-Cola was dipping, and as was consumer awareness. That changed, of course, in the summer of 1985 as the consumer outcry over New Coke was replaced by consumer affection for Coca-Cola Classic. The fabled secret formula for Coca-Cola was changed, adopting a formula preferred in taste tests of nearly 200,000 consumers. What these tests didn't show, of course, was the bond consumers felt with their Coca-Cola, something they didn't want anyone, including the Coca-Cola Company, tampering with. The events of the spring and summer of '85, pundits blasting the marketing blunder of the century, consumers hoarding the old Coke calls of protest by the thousands, changed forever the Coca-Cola thinking. So wow.
I'm going to go with the greatest theory of why this was a beautiful strategy to do this on purpose.
And that could be true. The world may never know.
The world may never know until somebody finally admits it.
That's right.
So, the cost of sugar was skyrocketing in the 80s.
It was,
and
especially in the early 80s.
Coca-Cola was made with sugar.
Yeah.
They had this great new thing, a sweetener called corn syrup.
Yeah, high fructose corn syrup.
High fructose corn syrup.
It just sounds bad.
It was cheap to make.
Right.
But it made just a hair difference in taste. So they saw, it's got kind of a bitter aftertaste. It feels a little weird.
Yeah.
It's not as good as sugar.
Good old sugar.
But how do we replace it? Best thing to do. Change the formula. Make it all one big theory. That's why in 80 days they already ready with the new batch made with the high fructose corn syrup.
Definitely possible.
Because it's no longer made with sugar. At least it wasn't at the time.
Well, let's see. Let's let the CEO from 1985 weigh in on it himself and see what he had to say about it not much later than that.
I'm Don Keogh, president of the Coca-Cola Company. When we brought you the new taste of Coke, we knew that millions would prefer it, and millions do. And we knew that it would beat the taste of our major competitor, and it does. What we didn't know was how many thousands of you would phone and write asking us to bring back the classic taste of original Coca-Cola. Well, we read and we listened, and you know the rest. They're both yours, the new taste of Coke and Coca-Cola Classic. Your right of choice is back.
So, marketing blunder or best
Where's New Coke now?
Thing? I don't know.
Gone.
It's completely gone.
They did it just
Wasn't it
long
around
enough,
for a little while in certain
just
markets?
Just long enough that most of the old Coke was gone before they could replace it with classic Coke and go, it tastes like classic Coke. Does it?
Wow. And I'd always thought that they changed it to make it taste, that the new Coke maybe tasted a little more like Pepsi. To kind of like blur that line or something like that. I don't know. That was another theory.
It did have more of that Pepsi-ish taste, which was a little sweeter.
Right.
I love, and it's still to this day, if I'm going to have a Coke, a regular classic Coke, that's your typical Coca-Cola. Yeah. That's the best flavor.
I remember the old days.
Although I do like cherry Coke.
Of older. See, what is it about to me that I'm not a big fan of adding cherry to anything. I'm like, and I'm not a cherry. I could eat cherries.
So you're not a big Dr.
Cherries?
Pepper fan, are you?
Not really. Now Mrs. BK loves Mr. Pibb and Dr. Pepper, Mr. Pibb Extra. But the old, you mentioned, there was nothing like, and my dad swore till the day he was gone that soft drinks tasted better out of a glass bottle than they did out of a can. Some people
my
believe
wife thinks that about beer.
Some people believe that.
She's like, beer bottles are better than beer cans.
Do you remember I was thinking about vending machines the other day. There used to be one in the 70s they had for years. I don't know if it started in the 60s and went over into the 70s. But there used to be a vending machine that was flat. and you opened the top up like a cooler, and you put your money in like this little coin thing inside the corner, and you had to pull the drink in the bottle all the way down this track, then down this long track, and pull it through this clicker, this little plastic clicker that would be released one time for you to pull out one drink with that coin. And then again it would close and it would lock.
I remember
those.
that as a memory from someplace. Like, I remember only running across one of those, but I remember thinking, oh, this is cool.
Right.
And I was playing with it, but you could only get one to come out. And like, oh.
Well, I remember that too. They had one at where my mom got her hair done back in the 70s. I'd go with my mom to get her hair done because I couldn't be left at home. I was too young. And talk about the most boring thing in the world. Boring. I got to sit there in a beauty salon, listening to all the talk and the crap, and even the magazines are not magazines I want to read in a beauty parlor. I'm sitting in the lobby, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to get a drink. So I got. Stupid hairstyling magazine.
Is that the game? No, it's not the game of life. It's Life
so I'm like,
magazine.
I know how. I'm like, I figured it out. I thought about this for weeks before we went back. I'm like, I can get another drink out of that. I said, if I put a quarter in there, I put a quarter in there. I noticed that when I pulled the drink over and I pull it out, the thing, it turns where you can pull the Coke out. I'm like, if I put my quarter in there, pull that Coke over there, and that thing turns, a little plastic piece turns to let the Coke out, I'll hold it with my finger as the Coke comes out, and I can pull 3 or 4 or more of them out. I'm a genius. I'm a 9-year-old genius. I can get it. So I pulled the Coke over there, put my quarter in, pulled it out, and as I pulled it out, I held it, and I'm like, wait. I've grabbed another bottle. I'm like, when the thing goes up, it turns to let your Coke out, but behind it, there's another thing that comes up behind it and blocks
Someone
it.
thought of
I'm
you.
like, hey, foiled.
Kid tested, kid approved.
So that right there thwarted my life of crime. Had I been able to successfully do that, I would have lived another life.
It's okay if you don't understand what he's talking about. He probably doesn't either. It's BK on the air on AM 1450, FM 100.3, and online using the Tunein radio app.
A lot of things are opening up now that this COVID-19 situation that had us by the throats for a while is it looks like it's easing around the country and around the world. One thing in particular, I've got a story here from WSB TV here in Atlanta. Six Flags, the park. We talked about last week that Universal opened last Friday, and I guess they've been operating just fine so far from what I heard. And yesterday, Disney came out with a statement that said they will soon be letting you know how they're going to open up. So it looks like Walt Disney World and Disneyland are going to be opening up very soon, back for business. But Six Flags, another park chain in America and other places, has announced them in Whitewater opening dates. They'll be opening its doors to thrill seekers starting next week. The longtime theme park has been closed for months, obviously due to the pandemic. Six Flags said it will reopen June the 15th, which is 2 days away, and Whitewater on June 29th, but at a reduced capacity. They say the parks will only be open to members and season pass holders at first. They and all guests will need to make a reservation. The parks will gradually increase attendance levels Throughout the remainder of the year, the parks say they are implementing extensive new safety measures and hygiene protocols, including several new advanced technology systems to protect guests and employees, kind of like everybody else did. So you want some more details on what they're doing and finding out. If you want to go to Six Flags, if you're a season pass holder or whatever, you fit that criteria, go to their website, just search for sixflags.com.
I can't figure out how I would ride any rides with a mask.
Well, a lot of them pull some G-force and blow some wind in your face. You might blow the mask off. Yo-ho, blow the mask off.
So I'm going to wait till people get over that.
I don't want to.
I heard somebody on the radio go, you know what? At some point, it'll be just like a seatbelt. People were adverse to it at first, but now it's caught on. I'm like, no.
No, I don't. No, sorry.
No.
Sorry about that. I don't buy that. And here's the funny thing, and it's not because I'm scared and don't want to go, it's because I don't want to go through all of that. And plus, I know that maybe the attendance is lower, but still, you're going to be in a line with 6 feet between everybody in a line, which is going to make the line longer. And I guess they're going to seat people that are married together, or if you're there together, whatever, that's fine. But they're going to have one car behind you empty, and then 2 people, then one car behind you empty, which means it'll take longer for the rides to go through even. So I don't want to go through that right now. I can wait. You want to go to Universal next year? Wait.
I'm going to have
to. That's when we might go, and I think it's going to be a lot better.
I can't go under the current guidelines. I'll tell you that.
And we refuse.
I don't care. Unless you told me we're going to close the park to just you, in which case, if it's just me, then why am I bothering wearing a mask?
Yeah, I must be a millionaire then at that point. And I can close the whole park and visit by myself. So.
I mean, there are a lot of things we've been doing. We've been doing everything we possibly can that's available to us. I can't wait for the theaters to open.
Yeah, that's kind of – and you know what? We drove by a theater – I think it was one day last week, and Mrs. BK said those exact words. She just looked at it, and I knew what she was going to say. And she goes, "I can't wait till the movie theaters open again." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, me too."
And you go a lot more than we do. Obviously, I only go a couple times a year, but just the fact because I couldn't go, made me angry about that. Yeah. Like, well, you don't ever go anyway. Like, no, I do once or twice a year, depending on the movie.
Right. And you do enjoy yourself when you go.
I do.
Great.
The movie experience is still great to me. That combined viewing experience of the audience, especially when it's a brand new release.
Are you like that too? Because a lot of people love going to the theater with no one there. Now, here, let me put a caveat on that. I like seeing a movie, especially a big one, like maybe a Star Wars film, an Indiana Jones film, a Marvel film, or something that we both like and everyone likes together, sci-fi, whatever. I like seeing those films in a theater with a crowd of people who like it too, because we're all in on the joke. Mm-hmm. We're all fans. I don't like seeing it with disrespectful people. Let me say that. I don't want you to yak while you're in there, but if you guffaw, laugh, and have fun and hoop and holler when I do it at the screen, that's a much better experience.
A packed house of like-minded watchers is one of the best experiences. It's like being at a theater.
I would prefer that than an empty movie theater, but just me.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Now, on the flip side, I'd rather be in an empty movie theater than have people opening wrappers and being on their cell phone.
And if I win the lottery, and I know you will too, I am having a theater in my house. I will have my own theater if I'm a lottery winner.
I'm getting close.
I would love to have one.
Not as big a screen as I'd
like.
Not
Not that big, but I will have a movie theater type thing in my house if I win the lottery. And
I agree.
And if it's enough money when I win the lottery, you'll have one too.
Oh, good.
I'm just telling you right up front.
Thank you.
And several of my friends might have one. I'm on air saying it. So 770-386-1450 is our number. Someone's on the air now. Hey, it's BK on the air. Who's this?
Hey, is there a rule against calling twice?
It's Barbara.
It's a whole different show, there's no rule.
You mean if you call Alan and then my show, or my show twice? What are you talking about?
Well, I called Alan earlier.
No, there's no rule here at this radio station at all.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, this is Barbara again.
Hey, Barbara.
I wanted to tell you guys about the best money I ever spent. I guess ever.
Okay.
It was downtown Atlanta, and the Fox had a marathon of 8 movies.
The Planet of the Apes movies. I think you called and told us this before.
You did. I remember that.
You could drop your kids off one price, and they had like 3 movies in a row or something.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was all day.
Oh yeah, Planet of the Apes.
And I gave them a sack lunch, and I told them goodbye.
Packed a lunch and said, "Get in there. I'll be back
funny.
in 6 hours or 12
and
hours."
It was my 2 older children, and they loved it.
That's
and I
awesome.
had a
That's great.
whole day without them.
You know what? I bet they loved it, too, because I remember the first time my mom trusted me and my brother to go see a movie by ourselves. We thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
Oh, sure. You thought you were grown.
And Barbara, I don't know if you remember, what it was 1977. There was a weird movie that came out in the theater about a car. It was a black car that it was a driverless car going around killing people. It was called The Car. Do you remember that movie at all?
no.
That was the first movie my mom dropped my sister and I off to see by ourselves.
Wasn't that R-rated, though?
I don't remember. I think it might have been.
Because
but,
it's
hey, who
supposedly
cares?
driven by the devil.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater.
from hell.
Yeah, and that was the first time
nightmares?
I didn't because I like that stuff. That stuff didn't give me nightmares back then. The dream I had of being in the car when I had dreams. I'm like, oh, I'd love to have that car and run around. That'd be great. But that was the first one that they dropped us off as kids to see. Now, a different story with me and Planet of the Apes. My mom she watched it once for the first time on video. She hadn't seen them, and she goes, those Planet of the Apes are real interesting. Watching them reminds me of you and your sister. I'm like, great. So I'm like, thanks, Mom. Appreciate that.
Bunch of monkeys.
Yeah. So
you guys have a good day.
You too, Barbara. Always good.
Bye-bye.
Always good to hear from you.
By
Bye-bye.
the way,
yes.
Whatever y'all are drinking, I want some.
Okay, good. I think Alan has wine pops.
Yeah, pops.
They're frozen wine pops. Talk to you later. Bye.
It's great for the first 3 hours, but then I sleep the rest of the day.
Yeah, but that's good though, right? Well, after you mow the
Sigourney
grass.
said it's tea laced with rum or with rum. Didn't she say that? With
she
rum.
said, "Hey, I didn't even know they did
No,
it." So
I do no alcohol of drinking during the day. I save that for my afternoons.
Well, definitely not if you're going to mow the grass today.
You know what? People say that all the time. They're like, "Gosh, you sound like you're having so much fun." Because we love what we do.
Yeah, we're just having fun. I mean, imagine what you do to go have fun, whether it's go play baseball or go play a game or go out and pull wings off of flies or something like that. If you melt a fly with a magnifying glass,
kids, we got an issue.
Yeah, there's other shows for that. But this is just
keep
us.
an eye on that child.
This is just us coming in and flipping the switch on at a radio station. Like I'm very privileged and happy that I get to do that and just have fun for 2 hours. And I've done it I've had fun since day one, since I was in high school, on and off doing this. And that's just what I love to do.
This is a perfect time for me to do a free plug, but it also is good for you. If you haven't gone to listen to the episode where we interviewed BK, we actually said, where did your love of radio start? And you told us your story.
Yeah, I mean, it's when I was a kid. I would hear radio stations, AM radio stations, and want to do it one day. It's not being pompous, and I could have been wrong as a kid, but even as a kid, I'm like, I'm going to do this one day. I want to do this so bad. I want it so much that it's going to happen. And I got fired from my first job. And I don't know a lot you on the radio that didn't get fired.
It was a great story.
So yeah, but it's a fun thing to do. I love doing it and coming on, and you can tell how much you like something and you're passionate about it. If you like to, because if I came on and talked about vegetables and with me, I can't talk sports. I can't talk about computer repair. Right. I know how to turn a computer on and maybe upload a program and do this, that, and the other thing, but I can't
certainly not construction.
I can't solve your computer problems. I was always told, if there's a problem with your keyboard or your computer, lift it 3 inches off your desk and drop it once, and if that fixes it, then fine, maybe it will. If not, it doesn't. So or whatever. So that's the way we were told. I had a friend working at a TV station once here in Marietta, Georgia, and they had cart machines that played the big 3/4-inch videotapes back in the day, back in the 80s. The engineer told him once, he goes, if there's a problem with this player, first thing I want you to do is pick it up 3 inches off the shelf and drop it, where it jolts it. And he goes, sometimes that fixes it. And he was dead serious about that's the first thing you do. You think maybe that's the reason it's messed up, because that's been done to it over and over again? I don't know.
Isn't that the funny thing that we see in movies? You're running out of gas. You hear the engine sputtering, so you flick the gas gauge, because that's why
tap it. You pump the accelerator,
because that must be why you're running out of gas. The needle is wrong.
And two other things.
The needle's stuck.
The old TV shows. What happened when the TV was on the fritz?
Bang it
on the side. That's what they did.
Hey, it's Arthur Fonzarelli. Got the jukebox to work.
Yeah,
only he can do it.
Can do that.
Yeah,
only Fonzie can do that. And what else would they do? It bugged me on television shows when they're on the old telephones, and they would go hello, and they'd click the receiver thing that hangs up the thing several times with their finger. I'm like, that never works.
Well, that didn't work when we grew up with those phones. But
do you think it did in the old ones?
Because that was how the operator knew there was something.
Oh, so see, I didn't know that.
They were hearing clicking.
I didn't know that. Wow.
They were all party lines and stuff. So click, 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 click.
But even in the shows, it never worked. They never answered back.
No, it never was like, hey,
it
was weird. It was weird. I was going through a tunnel.
Oh, the old stuff. There's a little nostalgia for you right there, a little vintage stuff.
Susan tells me all the time, because I actually didn't grow up with party lines, but where she was in
I did too.
Rural upstate New York, she said that was the greatest thing. We would just try to as quiet as we could, so you couldn't hear the click of somebody opening.
There's a way to do it.
Sit there and listen on the line.
There's a way to do it. But then you get mad because you're like, would you get off the phone I just cut my finger off, and I need to call. There's a problem here, and I need to use the phone.
Get off the line.
My dad had a saying again. He's like, "Oh boy, I'm so old I fart dust." I'm like, oh wow, that's old, Dad. That's really old.
What was that?
I'll bet you had to walk to school too, didn't you? Like I walked 10 miles to school, then I swam 5. Like that's even worse. He always had to one up it. He was always one upping it.
You know the crazy thing? I can honestly say this, but nobody believes me because the school was on a hill, my house was on a hill, and we used to walk to school when it snowed. So I could say I literally walked to school.
And it was uphill both ways.
Up a hill both ways.
You only had a
snow.
flat part in the valley.
It was just like big bowl coming down from one side, pop up on the other.
That's great.
Nobody believes me. Oh, by the way, the hill
funny.
I thought was a massive hill when I was 7 and 8 years
You've
old.
seen it since then?
When we went back to Michigan, visited my buddy a couple years ago, I was like, this is like a slope.
Yeah.
This doesn't even count
as a kid,
as opposed to the
bigger.
hills here in Georgia. I was like,
that's right.
That's not a hill. That's a slope.
As a kid, everything is bigger.
It's a gradual incline.
Right. we would drive to our grandparents' house, who lived on Lookout Mountain over in Alabama, and we'd go up, the mountain to see them. As a kid, I'm like, all right, we're going up the mountain now. To me, it was like Everest. The car's going up this big. I go up there now, I'm like, this is a hill. Same thing. I got you. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Still.
Well, hey, I'm glad to be back. Thanks, buddy, for everything you did while I was gone.
Back.
And we had fun today, and we're going to continue to have fun. It's BK on the air. Get out and about if you're available. Yeah, let's see if I'm coming back. We'll be back next week, I hope, in one shape or form. It's BK on the air.
Hi. Today you saw what happens when people show disrespect to the land, history, and artifacts of other peoples. As the elders said, the desert and traditions of other people have much to teach us and must be preserved for future generations to see and to know. See you next week.